Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Black Ops 3 In Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the KRM-262 shotgun, which, in my opinion, is one of the better shotguns in Black Ops 3. It's a weapon that I particularly like. I have a legendary camo on it, and I've got some good gameplay for you. However, shotguns in Black Ops 3 are different than they have been in any Call of Duty game ever, so before I explain some of their damage and range mechanics, I have to explain some of the new stuff so that this will make sense, and I'll reference this episode in further in-depth episodes so I don't have to repeat myself. So, shotguns in Black Ops 3 actually apply damage twice. They literally have two different damage ranges, two applications. There's a flat damage and a bonus damage. What I'm going to call damage 1 is the flat damage. If you hit a target with any pellets, it applies a certain fixed flat damage for that range. So even if 1 out of your 8 pellets hit, it'll still apply, and this is a random example, like 50 damage. Or if 2 out of your pellets hit, it still applies that flat 50 damage, and this is designed to increase consistency so that you won't get like 8 hit markers at long ranges or something like that. It just applies a flat fixed damage, and it does vary over range. What I'm going to call damage 2 is a small amount of bonus damage that's applied per pellet hit, and this is for all shotguns in the game. So after you've got your flat damage, the game will calculate how many of your 8 pellets hit, and it'll apply a bonus damage based on that amount. What makes this complicated is that both damages have different ranges. They don't necessarily line up one-to-one, which makes calculating the one-shot kill ranges a little bit hard, but don't worry, I've got that sorted for you on in-depth, but it kind of makes it messy to present the information. So instead of just talking about the ranges, I'm going to be talking about the maximum potential one-shot kill range after I talk about the damages. So the flat damage for the KRM-262 is 98 up close, which is extremely high, 84 at medium range, and you gotta remember medium range for shotguns is not very far, and 50 at its maximum range. This is the best in-class flat damage in Black Ops 3. It is extremely high, especially if you consider like 98 damage up close. If the guy's been shot by anybody or taken fall damage or 2 stuns or something, it's a guaranteed one-hit kill. And it has a pellet bonus damage of 2 per shot at all ranges. It doesn't vary over range, and since you have X8 pellets, it can get up to 16 bonus damage per if you hit all 8 of your pellets. I know that's a little bit complicated, so yeah, I do want to point out the pellet bonus damage is kind of low, but that's the case for almost all shotguns in Black Ops 3 except for the Argus. So all of this mumbo jumbo, what this means for you is that the KRM will always kill in 2 shots because its minimum flat damage is 50. So 2 shots anywhere, any range, as long as you hit somebody, is going to guarantee that you get a kill, and the max range for one-shot kills is 9 meters. That's 9 meters if all 8 of your pellets hit and you get that bonus damage, which I would say is pretty normal for shotguns in Call of Duty. However, realistically, to do this, you're going to have to aim down sights and pop people because it does tighten up your spread, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And I would like to point out that a silencer equals 30% less damage. It actually doesn't change the range, but it literally cuts off 30% of your damage at everything except for maximum range, so I would pretty much never run a silencer on the KRM-262. I do it here on in-depth just for variety's sake, but really wouldn't recommend it. The headshot multiplier is 1.0x, meaning that you don't get any bonus damage for shooting people in the head, which is kind of odd, but that's just how it is, and that obviously means that headshots are useless at all ranges. Rate of fire is 60 rounds per minute, which is normal for shotguns in Black Ops 3 or really any Call of Duty game. This is going to feel like a very normal standard shotgun rate of fire. It matches our clocks, 1 shot per second. Pretty easy to go with, but one thing I would point out is that you don't want to forget to rechamber before running off. You do have to pump it to rechamber the round. You can shoot and run off, and then you will go to shoot again, and you have to rechamber, and you kind of get caught with your pants down and you'll die. You really don't want to do that, so always rechamber before sprinting off. There is one thing that I do want to show you, and that's the pellet spread when you aim down sights. So this is the base pellet spread on the KRM-262, no laser sight or anything, and it's fairly wide. However, when you aim down sights, it significantly tightens the pellet spread, meaning that you're more likely to hit more pellets and therefore get the bonus damage, and therefore are more likely to get one-shot kills, kind of depending on your range. Did want to point that out, just wanted to use a little example of actual gameplay there so that it makes more sense than me blabbing about numbers. One thing I would like to say about this weapon is even though it's a very popular attachment, rapid fire only only makes it shoot 6% faster, so I would avoid rapid fire. I don't find it to be worth anything, and I'm going to call this the most consistent shotgun in Black Ops 3 after the recent patch. Believe it or not, this is actually more consistent than the Argus because it always gets 2-shot kills, and I think it's quite a good shotgun, but we'll talk more about my opinions later on. Magazine size is 8, extended mags will take you up to 11, which isn't very useful. If you were going to run either one, I would definitely go with fast mags on this, and fast mags just kind of doubles your reload speed, which we'll talk about in a little bit. That's admittedly a little bit slow because you have to load one at a time. The iron sights I'm going to call good, even though I hip fire a lot. I like hip firing the weapon, but for a shotgun, the iron sights are good. They're workable. They're not an issue whatsoever. Recoil's not really applicable because you're shooting so slow that by the time you're ready for your second shot, you've already completely recentered, so that's not an issue for this shotgun. It will be on other ones, and this one does have good hipfire spread, though that good hipfire spread is the same as other shotguns. I am, however, going to strongly recommend running a laser sight because that just tightens up your hipfire spread, and that's nice. It's like one of the best attached. I'm going to recommend that on almost all the shotguns. Laser sight, tighter hipfire spread, you're almost always better off. Aim down sight's time is 250 milliseconds, which is actually a little bit slow for the shotgun class. Not really spectacular right there, so if you want to ADS a lot, of quick draw grip isn't bad, but I'm not going to end up recommending it in this in-depth episode. Reload time, we finally gotten there, is 0.55 seconds per shell, or, you know, basically a half second per shell that you load into the gun, giving it the slowest in-class reload in Black Ops 3. All of the other shotguns have magazines or cylinders or chambers, you know, you could just reload in just one go. This one, to do a full reload, is incredibly slow. However, you can do partial reloads, which is nice. You might just take a second or two to load a few rounds and keep going, and you can cancel and fire, so that's a very nice benefit, but overall, very slow reloading. One interesting thing about the KRM, and all shotguns in Black Ops 3 interestingly, is that it has a 0 wall penetration factor, making it impossible to wallbang with. And I will say this again, the wall penetration factor is 0, meaning that any surface immediately stops the bullets and you can't wallbang no matter what. I mean, I guess maybe if you put FMJ on, it might move it up to a low wall penetration factor and it would still be bad, so I'd pretty much never recommend doing this without FMJ. And even with FMJ, it's still not going to be a very good idea. In my personal opinion, the KRM-262 is the most consistent shotgun in Black Ops 3 because it's got extremely high upfront damage. The pellet damage doesn't change over range, and you will never need more than 2 shots to kill. I think that makes the weapon extremely consistent, and I think it makes it extremely good, even if it doesn't necessarily have the best potential for one-shot kills, even as compared to previous Call of Duty shotguns. Yeah, so this probably does get less one-shot kills than something like the Remington, but it's still going to be one of the better shotguns in Black Ops 3, and it's also the most normal feeling shotgun in the game. I'm assuming most of you here on In-Depth have played a COD game before, so you've probably used at least a dozen different kinds of shotguns, and this one is the most standard. You shoot, you pump, you shoot again, you're likely to get a one-shot kill. If not, the second one finishes them off. It's not complicated, it's not sophisticated. We've done this a million times before. Once we get the timing right, we're down, we're ready to go for it. It doesn't have any weird mechanics, and I think that is also a good thing. However, I am going to say it's a little bit harder to use than other shotguns, and it has less potential than the Argus. So yeah, the Argus is harder to use, right? But the Haymaker and the Breachy are just bullet hoses. You just hold down the trigger and spam bullets everywhere. Those are remarkably easy to use. The KRM-262 you can't do that with. The KRM you actually have to aim, you actually have to guess your range, and it's not very forgiving, and it has less potential than the Argus. So the Argus is definitely harder to use than this one, but the Argus can one-shot people at really stupid and almost overpowered ranges if you're good with it. You just can't do that with the KRM. The KRM is the balanced shotgun. It's the normal one. It's the one that makes sense in Black Ops 3, and I really just generally like it. As for what I think this is best with, I'm going to recommend using fast hands, gung ho, and laser sight. Fast hands is pretty essential. You know, you can change weapons really fast, you recover from sprinting faster, but it doesn't matter because you can shoot while sprinting with gung ho, or while sliding or flying or doing a variety of other things. Laser sight is also going to be essential because it tightens up your hipfire spread and means that you are more likely to get one-shot kills while hip firing, which I tend to do a lot on this weapon anyway. Any other perk you want to run, Afterburner, fine, Ghost, fine, all that kind of stuff. But we should talk about Specialist. I feel that the KRM is strongest with very offensive and kind of positional specialists. Overdrive, it works really well because you can run circles around people and shoot them. Kinetic armor is probably the best for this weapon because you can turn that on and just challenge people and just be like, deal with me, bro, while you put shotgun loads in their face. And it works surprisingly well with glitch, because with glitch you can go in and you can get your 1 or 2 shots, and when the enemy has time to turn on you and would usually catch you with your pants down, you can just glitch out and go somewhere else and reposition yourself, or just kind of throw them off balance. It works very well like that. Guys, that is all for this in-depth episode. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. The previous episode was on the 48 Dredge light machine gun, and the next episode is going to be on the very unusual 205 breachy shotgun. Drifter out.